In this video, I'll be helping you find the Warhammer the Old World army that is right for you. With so many different armies available, each with their own unique models, stories, and playstyles, choosing your first army can feel extremely overwhelming, especially if you're completely new to the game. But don't worry, over this series, I will be covering every army in the Warhammer the Old World Battle March, breaking down how each one plays, what makes it unique, and helping you decide which army is right for you. Hello and welcome to Hammer Hobby. My name is Simon and thank you for joining me. So, you have decided to start your journey into Warhammer the Old World. First of all, welcome to the hobby. There are many reasons why players choose an army. The first and probably the most important reason is the models. You will spend a lot of time building, painting, and playing with your army, so choosing a faction that you love the look of is extremely important. Some players choose an army because they love a certain playstyle. Maybe you enjoy overwhelming your opponent with hundreds of warriors marching across the battlefield. Maybe you prefer a smaller elite force where every model matters. Or maybe you enjoy powerful monsters charging into battle and causing destruction. The Old World has a huge variety of playstyles. There is an army for almost every type of player. The lore is another huge reason people choose an army. The Warhammer world is filled with incredible stories of ancient kingdoms, legendary heroes, terrible villains, and endless wars. Sometimes you don't choose an army because it is the strongest. You choose it because you connect with its story. Cost is also something worth considering. Some armies require hundreds of models, while others can be built with a smaller number of elite units. A large army can look amazing on the battlefield, but it will require more time and money to collect and paint. Finally, some players want to know which army is the strongest. There is nothing wrong with wanting a competitive army, but remember that Warhammer changes over time. Rules are updated, new books are released, and the strongest army today may not always be the strongest tomorrow. Choose an army you enjoy because you will be spending a lot of time with it. There is no wrong reason to pick an army. At the end of the day, Warhammer is about having fun, creating amazing armies, and enjoying great battles with other players. But now, it is time to find your first army. Let's get stuck in. Grand Cathay is one of the oldest and the most powerful human civilizations in Warhammer world. Protected by the Celestial Dragon Empire and its children, Cathay stood against chaos for thousands of years. Their vast empire stretches across the eastern reaches of the world, defended by disciplined armies, powerful arteries, and ancient dragon magic. What makes Cathay unique is the harmony between order and balance. Every part of their society revolves around maintaining equilibrium, and this philosophy extends directly onto the battlefield. On the battlefield, Grand Cathay is a combined arms army that rewards carefully positioning and planning. Their units work best when supporting one another, creating a force that is greater than the sum of its parts. They have access to solid infantry, excellent shooting, and powerful characters and strong magic support, making them one of the most versatile armies in Warhammer world. If you enjoy balanced army that can participate in every phase of the game, while rewarding technical play, Grand Army may be the army for you. Hobby-wise, Cathay is one of the most visually striking factions in the setting. Their mixture of Chinese-inspired armor, dragons, lanterns, and war machines creates an army that looks incredible on both the painting shelf and on the battlefield. Here is a beginner roadmap to take your first 500-point army and build it up to full 1,500 points. Few armies embody the brutality of Warhammer, quite like the warriors of chaos. These are the chosen champions of the dark gods, warriors who have abandoned civilization and devoted their lives to conquest, slaughter, and the pursuit of dark power. Drawn from the frozen wasteland beyond the northern borders of the world, Chaos Warriors march south in fast invasion, seeking to tear down kingdoms and bring the world beneath the shadow of the dark gods. Clad in blackened armor and wielding brutal weapons, even a single Chaos Warriors can be a match for multiple mortal soldiers. On the battlefield, Warriors of Chaos are one of the most elite armies in the old world. Their warriors are incredibly durable, hit extremely hard in combat, and can withstand punishment that would break lesser armies. While they often bring fewer models than their opponents, every single warrior feels powerful and dangerous. The army also offers incredible variety. You can build a force around heavily armored infantry, devastating cavalry, and terrifying monsters, allowing players to create an army that matches their preferred playstyle. If you enjoy marching an army of unstoppable warriors directly into the heart of the enemy and winning battles through overwhelming strength, Warriors of Chaos are hard to beat. From a hobby perspective, this is one of the most impressive ranges Game Workshop have ever produced. From Chaos Knights and Chosen to Demon Princes and towering monsters, almost every model feels like a centerpiece for your collection. Here is a beginner roadmap to take your first 500 point army and build it up to full 1500 points. Orcs and Goblins are among the most iconic factions in Warhammer. Driven by a love of fighting and an endless appetite for destruction, they march to war in enormous army looking for the next great battle. Orcs are the bigger, tougher, and stronger than most races, while Goblins rely on trickery, cunning, and sheer weights of numbers. Together, they form a wildly unpredictable force capable of overwhelming enemies with brute strength, ridiculous intervention, and complete chaos. On the tabletop, Orcs and Goblins are one of the most diverse armies in the old world. Massive infantry blocks, terrifying monsters, squigs, trolls, cavalry, bizarre war machines, all combined to create an army that is as entertaining as it is dangerous. No two battles ever feel quite the same. Sometimes, your greatest enemy might be your own army. If you enjoy unpredictable gameplay, huge model counts, and plenty of laughs along the way, Orcs and Goblins are hard to beat. Hobby-wise, few armies offer more variety. Every unit has its own personality, and the conversion possibilities are practically endless. Here is a beginner roadmap to take your first 500 point army and build it up to full 1500 points. Long before the rise of the Empire or the coming of Chaos, the rulers of Nihekara built one of the greatest civilizations the world have ever seen. Today, those rulers have risen once again as the immortal Tomb Kings. Refusing to accept death, these ancient monarchs command vast legions of skeleton warriors, towering constructs, and animated statues in their quest to reclaim lost glory. On the tabletop, Tomb Kings relies on discipline, synergies, and ancient magic to keep their armies marching forward, but their relentless advance, powerful support units can overwhelm even the strongest foes. The army combines hordes of undead warriors and monstrous constructs, and some of the most iconic centerpiece models in Warhammer. If you enjoy commanding an ancient undead empire and winning through careful planning rather than raw power, Tomb Kings are a fantastic choice. Hobby-wise, the army is packed with Egyptian-inspired aesthetic, giant statues, and beautiful character models. Here is a beginner roadmap to take your first 500 point army and build it up to full 1500 points. Bretonnia is a land of noble knights, heroic quests, and ancient chivalric traditions. Inspired by Arthurian legend, his warrior ride into battle seeking glory, honor, and the blessing of the Lady of the Lake. While the noble knights dominate the Bretonnian society, countless peasants labor beneath them, providing the support needed to sustain the kingdom's endless wars. On the tabletop, Bretonnia is one of the premier cavalry armies in the old world. Their devastating lightning charges can shatter enemy formations and decide battles in a single moment. Success often depends on the timing and positioning, making the army rewarding for players who enjoys aggressive maneuver warfare. If you dream of leading shining knights into glorious charges across the battlefield, Bretonnia is difficult to resist. Hobby-wise, your armies offer as much individuality, with heraldry allowing every knight to tell their own stories. Here is a beginner roadmap to take your first 500 point army and build it up to full 1500 points. Before we move on, I should mention that Orcs and Goblins are actually the army closest to my heart, because they are not just an army I talk about, they are one of the first armies I have ever collected, painted, and played. My journey with Goblins started back in the early 2000s, when I began building a very unusual conversion project, an army based around a very simple question: what if a bunch of Goblins looked at the Bretonnia Knights and thought, we can do that too? And so, Gobotonnia was born, a ridiculous yet strangely heroic force of goblins riding wolves, dressed in the finest attempts at the Bretonnian chivalry. They carried homemade banners, improvised shields, and the kind of confidence that only goblins could have, completely convinced that they were the true knights of honor. At the time, armies like this were a huge part of what made Warhammer special. It wasn't just about building the strongest army, it was about creating something unique, full of personality, humor, and a story that only existed because of the hobbyists behind it. This army has survived through 6th, 7th, and 8th edition of Warhammer Fantasy, endured the end times, and now returns once again for the old world. Even after all these years, Gobotonnia remains one of my favorite projects. In the next video, I will talk about the next 5 armies. If you like this video, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in part 2.